All right, guys, welcome to the Onelife Podcast. Here with Dr. Beedle. He's a
everybody.
Chiropractor, functional medicine practitioner.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here, man. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah,
I watch you online. I watch who you work with. I see your passion. There's so much I want to talk to you about.
I know it's a little exotic. My social media is kind of confusing. You're like, this guy's professional, but unprofessional and cracks jokes, so I just try to
you're so professional, but you seem like just a down-to-earth person.
Just a normal guy.
Where are you from? You don't seem like a Vegas person.
No, definitely not. I'm from Cheyenne, Wyoming, so maybe a little bit weirder than a local here.
Is that more of a small town vibe?
Yeah, so my hometown's got about like 80,000 people, I'd say.
Okay, so not too. My hometown's got 3,000.
Oh, okay, okay. Whoa, dang. Okay, technology. I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you. No, yeah. So I'm from like an hour north of Denver.
Okay.
Denver, Colorado.
Gotcha. And how long have you been in Vegas for?
We've been in Vegas actually for about 3 years, my fiance and I.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it's not that long.
No, really not that long.
Why Vegas?
Yeah, that's a good question, man.
Especially with what you do with the Olympians and things.
So when I was in chiropractic college, well, actually before chiropractic school, I was a business major at Adams State University.
Okay.
That's where I played college lacrosse. And one of the things that one of my professors had taught me was figuring out like employment quotients and patient quotients and things like that to figure out statistically where the best place for you to open up a business or whatever you wanted to do was. So when I went to chiropractic school, I went in with a business degree. So you can ask any of my buddies that I was in chiropractic school with, they were like, this guy is... I was up shit creek a little bit because I went in, I did some pre-med classes, but primarily business and sports management. And so when I went to chiropractic school, I kind of had the whole business model planned out before the medical portion of it.
Which is so huge.
It's kind of backwards a little bit, right?
mean,
but
and I always thought, like, have you ever read the E-Myth? So it basically talks about you've got the technician, the business owner, and the entrepreneur.
Okay.
And basically saying just because you're really good at making cakes or you're really good at fixing cars doesn't mean you can run a bakery or a mechanic store. And you come in knowing that from the start. Just because I have this amazing skill set, if I'm running a business, two completely different things.
Yeah.
And you've come in knowing that from the start, right?
Yeah, I knew that like right away. So basically when I was in chiro school, ever since my first trimester, so in chiropractic college, you go to school for, I think 11 trimesters. I can't remember. It kind of blocked it out of my head. It was a blur. But I went in knowing I'm going to go to Las Vegas. You know, this is what I want to do. I want to work with professional athletes. I want to coach lacrosse.
Why Vegas?
So Las Vegas,
like
and Nevada, just statistically, for chiropractors, there's not like a whole lot of chiropractors here. Actually,
really? In
the United States, we actually have one of the lowest populations for chiropractors.
Really? So you knew this before? That's amazing.
Yeah. So I went on. It's a whole little sequence that I created, but I basically went to the BLS, so it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a government website, and so I looked at the employment quotients and patient quotients for chiropractors per capita out of. I think I picked 5 states in the United States, and out of those 5 states, I picked 2 cities, and then I just kind of traveled. I would take my student loan money, and instead of spending it on parties, I partied a little bit, but I would go on trips to states and cities that I wanted to work in potentially, and I would visit clinics in those cities. And when I get to those cities, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like more my vibe. I can do this, or nah, that really wasn't for me.
Nobody does this.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little bit
neurotic
about some things. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, people have moved states and they don't have a job lined up, or they've never been there before. And then you're finding out where to live, the best places to live, where you actually want to live.
Yeah, it was wild.
That's amazing.
Yeah, even with Ricky, my fiance, like when you can even ask her, I'm definitely like a numbers guy and an analytical person. So,
but you're a business guy.
Like, so it's just like if we want to do something, it's got to make sense for myself, her, like future family, things like that, and the people around me, right? Because I want to go somewhere where not only I can grow and my family, but I want to help other people grow. Like I want to have a business where we are all growing together. You know what I'm saying? Like you reach out to your network. Oh, this is what you do. This is how I can help you, you know? If I went to like Wyoming, like I love Wyoming, but it's like, I'm not a rancher. I'm not a farmer.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little slower there, which that's nothing wrong with it. I love going back home. It's just, I definitely made it out of that pond, like right when I was out of high school.
Somewhere where you're able to provide more value to the right people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I totally
where
get
I have
that.
more resources to help more people.
Totally get that.
Yeah.
Even having a podcast and knowing what I do in Vegas is so much better than it could be. Even back in Australia.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, man. Like, you just have the thing about Las Vegas too, man. Like, you got to think about it. You have people from all over the world coming. So that's one reason why I chose to come here. Like, I don't have to go out to you. People come here. I just have to be able to shake your hand, you know? And that's where it's been such a blessing, like meeting the people that I've met so far and the team that I have and like all the people that I've met out here. I'm super thankful for them.
No, that's really cool. Yeah. I love that. That's so smart. Like, most people just go in blind and it's like,
oh, you're pumping my tires right now, man.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you look at a Walmart or a Target before they build, they do the research, they find out what corner, how much traffic, how much foot traffic.
Yeah.
It's numbers.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's why it works.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, and when you think about it too, like, even the kids that I coach and like my patients and everything like that, I always talk about reverse engineering, right? Like
Gary Vee 101, right?
How did we get here? See, and I haven't really listened to a lot of Gary Vee.
But I just mean he talks a lot about reverse engineering.
Yeah. So like reverse engineering, like how I look at it, it's like, okay, we'll use lacrosse as an example. I always make lacrosse analogies. Like, I have this athlete here. Okay. So they can pass, they could catch. They don't know the offense. Okay, cool. I'm going to make them really, really good at passing and catching, and then I'm going to put them in one place where they can function the offense or the defense. You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to teach them everything at once, it becomes overstimulating, and then you forget what you're good at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So it's a little more like hyper-focused on like, how do we get here? What did we do to get here? How can we break down the things that we did to get to that point? You know, and then once you can figure that out, you can really like dissect anything you're doing in life, right? So when it comes back to like coming out to Vegas, like, number one, Vegas is definitely like my kind of style, right? Like kind of,
which is also a good thing.
Yeah, like
it's a good start.
It's fun, it's nice, it's a little wild, right? But there's a lot of amazing people here too. But it's just like anywhere though. There's like good janitors and bad janitors in any profession in any city, right? It's just about who you surround yourself with.
And who you become and who you attract to.
100%, man. Yeah. Absolutely. I am a firm believer in like a positive attitude breeds success, right? So like, even if we're down like a couple goals, like, hey, we could come back and win this. Hey, if, you know, I'm having a down month in business, okay, I need to get out and I need to network. And this is a perfect opportunity to go meet more people, you know, when business gets a little slower. That's how I look at it. So,
yeah, no, I love that. Why does chiropractors have a bad rap?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So
because I'm a rookie and you hear things, but what does that come from?
Yeah, it's like chiropractic. It's kind of funny because it's like looked at kind of funny, I guess, you know. But so I'd say, just to back things up, I think that chiropractors aren't looked at as a weird thing. I think adjustments are looked at as a weird thing, right? Like like an adjustment. So
like the ones you see on social media.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll explain that too. Like you have people that see an adjustment on TikTok or Instagram, or their weird uncle showed them how to pop their back or something like that, and then they try to do it themselves and then they get hurt, and then that was a chiropractic adjustment. But I'm like, wait a second. Physical therapists adjust too. Shit, there's even personal trainers that are adjusting. I'm like, no, do not be doing that, right?
Okay.
Like, chiropractors have so many hours of manual adjusting skills before they even go out into the public. And then you have someone that learns about it on a weekend seminar, you know, so it's just like running up.
So that's what the bad stigma is coming from. Like,
yeah, I'd say that's kind of where like that sour taste is. But you know, it's kind of funny. Like the book that you use in med school for physiology was written by a chiropractor. You know,
really,
those ones. Yeah, they actually Harvard Medicine just hired a chiropractor on their board, so at their university. So it's like, it's not that chiropractic is bad; it's that people associate it poorly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What is the history of it? Like, where does it come from? How long has it been around?
You know, that's a really good question. God, I hope my university's not watching me on this, talking to me about chiropractic history. I sound like a bad chiropractor.
But you learned all about that, did you?
The history about it's a little odd to me. Okay, so there's a guy, BJ and DD Palmer, right, like way back in the day.
Where's he from?
Iowa.
Oh, okay. So it's in America it started.
Yep. And then so basically their philosophy was that like they want to adjust you and we want to fix nerve conductivity to the muscles, right?
Okay.
So, and then I didn't really get too in depth with the chiropractic history because people's thought processes back then are not what they are today. And they obviously did not have the research or the literature that they had back then.
And it's constantly evolving.
Like maybe they were hitting people with shovels. I have no idea. I think that's an adjustment. You know what I'm saying?
You've seen Family Guy over the trash can?
Yes, exactly. Yes, basically like going to chiropractic school, right? Yeah. So I just think like for me, like what chiropractic is to me, what we want to do is we want to figure out where fixation is in the body, whether that's spinal, right? So either osseous structure, so like bone, muscular, is it a nerve entrapment? Are you having any vascular issues? And then you want to figure out how we could fix those things within our scope of practice, right? So chiropractors, you know, a lot of people think that you can just, all they do is adjust. I don't adjust all of my patients. So I really take the extent of my scope of practice, right? So I do adjust. I do a lot of exercise. I do blood, urine, stool, hair, saliva testing.
Really?
Yeah, I did additional schooling to do that. So I became a functional medicine practitioner while in chiropractic.
Okay, so that's what that, okay.
Yeah, so I did an additional 300-hour program. While in chiro school, I would not recommend that to anybody. That was absolutely miserable. It was super hard.
But do you like having it now?
I love having it now, and I love doing it then.
Yeah,
it's because there's so much more you could provide to people, right? I think just with medicine as a whole, we overcomplicate things sometimes, right? Like, I don't give people crazy amounts of supplements. I don't order every single test under the sun. I don't make you do 2 backflips and a handstand just to warm up. You know what I'm saying, or whatever's trendy on the internet. Right? You just have to. I think no matter what you do in life, whether you're a personal trainer, chiropractor, physical therapist, a coach, you know, people come to you for advice, and your job, when you want to be a good clinician, is you want to simplify things and not add more stress on that person's life.
Okay,
you know what I'm
like
saying?
that.
You're coming to me with low back pain. Do you want to do 50 exercises? No, you don't. You want to get out of pain, right? So, but that's not going to happen right away. So you have to have that realistic expectation with the patient.
Okay.
You have to address their emotional needs first, right? People are coming to you in pain. They're mentally not right because they're like, gosh, this sucks. I don't feel like myself. They're not confident, you know, their self-esteem is low. And then you have to address that first. And a lot of people don't address that first.
That's
interesting. A lot of people, whenever you go to the doctor, how many times have we been to the doctor, right? And it's like, hey, I have all this going on. Yeah, okay. 5 minutes then. Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll see you, right?
That's
same thing.
And it's a mask, it's a Band-Aid.
Yep. Same
There's
thing
no underlying.
Same thing with chiropractic.
Is it really?
Same thing with PT, right?
So you would say most people are doing it the wrong way?
I want to say they're doing it the wrong way because that's their business model, right? Like that's how people feed their family.
But you think it's more important to get to the base and the real issue.
In my opinion, yeah. Like
which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I never knock anybody for what they do for their business. That's their business. That's how they provide for themselves and their family, right? Like, I got a fiance, I got a dog, I got a diabetic cat, you know, like I got to make money for my family too, right? You know, so I just think how I practice though, and how we practice over at Alinology, you know, we really get to know our patients first, right? I spend a lot of time, like day one with me. You ask any of my patients, I ask you tons of questions. Because I want to get to know you. Because I want to know where you're at and where I need to meet you and where we can go.
Okay.
Because if I just lay you on a table and adjust you, that might not be what you need. You might just need to talk. You might just need to talk to someone to get something off your chest. And I'm not a therapist, but sometimes just talking to someone that's listening to you.
So I do personal training. You're more of a therapist than you are anything as a trainer.
It's crazy, right? Man, I've seen some things on my table. It's crazy.
I got a question for you. When do you go to a doctor? When do you go to a masseuse? When do you go to a chi? How do you know where to go?
That's a really good question. So I think the number one thing in Nevada, this is another reason why I came here, and I really hope that they work on changing the law. We need more primary care providers. I think all of America does. I think I read a study that said that over 30% of primary care practitioners are not going to renew their contract. 30%.
What does that mean exactly?
That means that they're not going to be a primary care provider.
But I mean, what is a primary care provider?
So primary care, that's like, oh my gosh, my back hurts. I might go into the emergency room. I'm going to go see my primary care provider.
Okay.
And then that doctor is like, oh, your back hurts? Okay, go get an x-ray, go get an MRI. And it's like, that poor guy has so much stuff going on his plate. Like he has people that are like developing autoimmunities, actual diseases or cancers, right? You know, people that need blood work, people that have now musculoskeletal issues. They're overworked. And it's crazy because like a lot of the insurance companies, like, I don't think that, you know, people say, oh, doctors, you have two types of people here. It's like politics. It's ridiculous, I think. Like, you have people that are like, all doctors are bad. No, they're not. The system that they're in does not work for you. That's what it is. Right?
Okay.
Like if I'm a primary care provider and I have 7 minutes to see you because I have a full day of patients and that's what the insurance company is going to pay for, that's how much time I have to spend with you. That's not on the doctor.
No,
right?
no.
That's on the business model, right? That's where like, I don't knock practitioners. It's more the business model.
Okay, that's interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So that's where I kind of play devil's advocate because some people are like, whoa, you're not anti-doctor? No, absolutely not. Those people still got really good education. I think that there's good janitors and bad janitors though, right?
Police being the perfect example,
exactly, right? Like there's good people, there's bad people in every single profession. It's just about where you're meeting them, where they're at, and what model you're trying to put yourself in, right?
That's really interesting.
It's not the doctor, it's the system. And so you need to get in a different system that works better for you.
And you've got a system where you're able to take your time. And
I am a firm believer, like, and I tell all my patients this, and I'm going to hold my foot down on this. Like, I spend every minute with my patients that they're in a linology or a Dragon's Lair. Okay. The only time you're not with me is when you get scheduled for your next appointment. That's it.
Gotcha.
So if you're there with me for an hour for your new visit, you're with me for an hour, and then my case managers.
That's cool.
Right? If you're there for a 15-minute appointment, I'm with you for all 15 minutes.
So you actually really care.
I am with my patients.
Like you really want to help these people.
Like I give people, you know, I would rather give someone more time than not enough time because they'll remember that, right? And some people are indifferent on that because they're like, no, people are going to use you. Well, that's a them thing. That's not a me thing. I could go home knowing I gave that person what they needed to, and I could feel better that I gave them more time that they needed to help them.
And that probably pays dividends like 10-fold, 100-fold, right?
You know, it's working well right now, and I'm thankful that I've had a lot of good people. I'm not saying that it's worked 100%, but it's a good percentage. I'm happy with.
Yeah, I mean that word of mouth, reputation, all those. Not because that's not why you're doing it, but there's a lot of benefits that do come from
definitely, that. Man. I think the most beneficial thing that I've had in my profession is, you know, seeing the impact that you can have on people, and same thing with coaching. Right. That's why I love coaching. I love coaching youth lacrosse. Like, if you ask anyone, like, if you were to ask even people in my chiropractic school 3 things about me, they would say lacrosse, number 1. 100% lacrosse.
Live and breathe it, do you?
Live and breathe it.
It doesn't exist in Australia. Yeah. Just saying. The first time I saw lacrosse was American Pie. Really? First time I even heard of it.
Stifler.
Yeah. Like,
we're all okay.
It's funny though, but we have cricket. Yeah. You know, I'm sure you probably never watched cricket.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I think of like, I don't even know what I think of with cricket.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird, right?
Yeah. Isn't it funny how like sports and things like that are just like.
But it's such a big part of your life, and it's non-existent.
And it's like I have no idea what the hell that is. It's like another language. You know, it's crazy. Yeah, so I'd say lacrosse, chiropractic, and then my friends. You know, those are like my top things in my life.
No, that's awesome.
Family.
That's awesome. And I've met your fiance, and she's a badass woman.
Yeah, she's
amazing.
Yeah, she's great. She definitely keeps me
very smart, very driven, she's very driven. Yeah, very rare. Yeah, she really nice girl.
Yeah, small town girl too. Town of like 200 people, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sure you attracted that type of person by being the person you are. And we talk about this a lot. To get the girl that you want, you need to become the man that she would. Yeah. Yeah, and you seem like that's why you guys are the perfect match. I definitely was a clown
when we first met each other. It was pretty funny. Yeah,
but you had goals and ambition. You're on your way somewhere, right?
You know, when I know that I want something, I want it, and then, I work relentlessly for it. You know, whether I got to work 24 hours in a day or however long I got to work, I'll work until the job is done. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people lack that. It was easy, everybody. I always say that if it was easy, everybody have a 6-pack, be making 100K.
100%.
And it's hard, and that's why not many of us have that. But that's why it's so much more important and so much more rewarding when you get there, because you had to work your butt for it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, like thinking about that. You know, I tell the kids I coach, it's a grit problem. You know,
grit problem.
Grit. Yeah.
Oh, grit.
What's your grit? Where's your grit? You know, 3 things I tell the kids I coach before every single practice, and I make them say it with me. 3 things your coach isn't in charge of: attitude, effort, and accountability. And I tell myself that before I go to work too every day. Gym, everything. Because you can't control my attitude, effort, or my accountability. Right? That's a job problem, right? So when you get everyone on the same page, you know, like our lacrosse program, for example, I remember when I first got here about 3 years ago, my buddy Connor asked me to come out and coach this youth program with him. And I was like, nah, I don't change diapers. I don't coach kids. Like, cause I'm used to only coaching like college athletes, doing lessons for professional athletes, high school kids, you know? And then I saw just this dumpster fire. And I was like, no kids were wearing the same colors, or it's just, they weren't learning anything, you know what I'm saying? And it was showing, like, whatever was happening before, like they were like an 0-5 program, and they just didn't have like the right mentor for that situation, right? It's not that the person that they had before was bad, it just wasn't working. Right? And that's okay. And then I remember we had a tournament here, the blackjack tournament here in Las Vegas, and we went 0-5. There were tons of tears. There were parents having meltdowns on the sidelines, making kids cry. It was like the bad news. You could literally, I thought I was on like HGTV for a reality TV show. It was so hectic. Yeah, it was crazy. It was nuts. But I told the kids, I said, when we went 0-5, I told them all, I said, if you stay with me, we will come back next year. Oh, sorry, it was the Best of the West tournament. And I said, if you come back and stay with me, we will win this tournament in 1 year. And in 1 year, we went 5-0, and then we went on a 32-2 win streak. And so my kids, like I would die for those kids. I spent a lot of time and effort on those kids. Like, you know, I basically say like my lacrosse kids I'm a single dad of like 52 kids.
Talk to me about the kids. So what has been the challenge and the most rewarding stuff about doing that?
Oh man.
Because I mean, this is something that you didn't want to do, didn't see yourself doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
doing things that make you uncomfortable will give you growth.
Yeah. So I'd say the thing that like hit me with it, so it got me into lacrosse. So I when I grew up in Wyoming, right, like there's not a lot of lacrosse there, right?
Okay.
And I grew up like single mom. Like my parents had a really bad, nasty divorce. I think it took like 14, 15 years just to end.
Oh,
like,
wow. Okay.
Very like toxic, like back and forth yo-yo, like John needs to come do this, John, you know what I'm saying? Kind of getting used a little bit. And I had a great mom. I love my mom. She worked all the time though.
Yeah.
And my dad was never around. And so, but when he was around, he's real nasty and mean, right? And my lacrosse coach at the time, Dan Hessen, we didn't have the money really for lacrosse. And so he was like, hey, if I give you lacrosse gear and if I pay for your season, will you promise to play lacrosse and just dedicate your life to this sport? And I did that.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so he took care of me. And then, I scored my first goal in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And then I went out to my mom's car or her truck, and I saw that all of our stuff was packed. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And she's like, we got to move to Ohio. Like, your dad, like, threatened to kill you and I. And so I couldn't tell you that we were moving. And so I was up there with a friend at the time, and then she showed up for the last game. So I scored my first goal. Everyone's all hyped. Didn't get to say goodbye to anyone because they didn't know I was moving. Wow. Yeah, and then I had to move to Ohio. I saw one friend, Malone Munford, and I gave him my only lacrosse stick at the gas station. I ran into him at the gas station.
How old were you?
I got to move. I was in 7th grade.
Yeah,
it was wild. So then,
and the fact you remember it so vividly.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but that thing, I remember that vividly. And so when I saw these kids, you know, like there's no like perfect relationship by any means, but like when I see these kids and like, you know, some of their parents are getting divorces or like they're having a hard time at school or like someone's just not listening to them, I was like, holy shit, I should have been doing this all along.
Yeah.
That's like what I was going through. And that's how I had Dan, you know.
You saw the impact on you.
It was crazy.
You're trying to help others.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
so that really like hit me deep. So then that's why I dedicated so much time to it. I probably put a little too much time into it because I'm a little bit of a workaholic. So that's where I was, you know, I would drive over to Henderson from IKEA every single Saturday morning, and I would coach lessons for kids from 8 a.m. till 1
Oh, wow.
Saturday and Sunday, every single Saturday and Sunday.
That's a lot of time.
Because I wanted to dedicate these kids and I wanted to make them better at lacrosse, and it paid off. And now there's tons of great lacrosse talent in Las Vegas. And
That's
now
awesome.
all the high school coaches can just cut me a little check for gas. That'd be great.
But the fact, no, that's amazing. The fact that you got something and you wanted to give back.
Yeah.
And then who knows, in 20 years, there might be someone talking and then they're talking about you and what you did for them.
Yeah. And even not even just like about like what I did for them, but like what it did for them. You know what I'm saying? You know, like
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
They could be on a podcast in 20 years saying, this guy, he did this for me and it changed my life.
Yeah, see, and
that kind of goes back to this. I'm doing this podcast, I'm putting out content. But one day, maybe someone's like, hey, I dropped 200 pounds because I saw this one video with you and Cordell. Or, hey, I fixed my lower back problem because I want to start a chiropractic because I saw this podcast.
See, and that's the crazy stuff, the impactful stuff that you don't even know what's going to happen. Right?
You don't, right?
Yeah, and see, that's one thing, like going kind of back to like the most rewarding thing with patients too. Like, God, I had this patient the other day, like out of nowhere, she just made a post on her Facebook just saying, hey, I just want to say I'm super thankful for this guy, Dr. Beedle. He's so real, you know, and he's a smart doctor. And when she said that I was just so real, that meant a lot to me, you know, because she actually gets to know my personality a little bit. A lot of my patients do, right? Like I tell my patients, I cuss sometimes. I'm really sorry. I'm human. Sometimes I might cuss a little too much. I make jokes. I come up with acronyms, stupid dad jokes, really stupid stick figure drawings so that my patients understand what I'm talking to them about, you know, that way they don't have to have like a white coat syndrome or anything like that, or, that he never explained anything to me. And then I go to another office and I don't know what's going on with me, right? Like I want, whether it's lacrosse or work or in my life, to understand why I do things the way that I do them. And there's a reason behind it. And I want them to understand it, whether it's sports, medicine, lifestyle, or anything.
Gotcha. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's you're definitely you can just, I feel like you can sense a vibe on people and the genuine
100%
and the care
energy.
factor and energy probably
it
the best
vibrates
word.
with everyone, man. Definitely.
As far as people in general and what you're treating, what are most people suffering from? Is it preventable?
Yeah.
What should people be doing to avoid it?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. So I see some pretty challenging cases. I'm super thankful for everyone at my office, from the front desk to my case managers to my clinical directors. You know, those people are the ones that really help out the patient. You know what I'm saying? Because they're the ones that get them into the office. I think the things that I see a lot of, like with functional medicine, I get a lot of, I can't tell you how many patients I've had that like come in and, you know, whether they have GI issues, like gastrointestinal issues, hormone imbalances, you know, or they just don't feel good, right? And that's not even just from a chiropractic standpoint, just from like, I went to my primary care and I went to this specialist and they just laughed at me and told me that's just how I am and I'll be all right, right? And I it's hard, right? Because, you know, the first thing you have to do, and this is what I do, and I don't know, maybe those doctors are being assholes. Sorry, everyone. But the first thing I tell my patient is, hey, that practitioner that you saw, or that specialist, they see a lot of people that are like dying or have cancer and very severe cases.
Yeah, okay.
So when they hear your presentation of your case, it's not a problem to them.
Yeah.
Because they're used to seeing something harder. So that's one thing you want to address too.
That's an interesting point.
That's why I still even have that person's back and I don't even know that person, right? Because they're used to seeing really challenging stuff. And so when someone comes in, it's the perspective. Yeah. It's like, you're fine.
But to that person,
you're going to live.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, that person will live, but they're not comfortable. Yeah. They're not happy. And you didn't address that. That's the first thing I address. And then the second thing I address with the patient is I tell them, I just want you to know, I'm really sorry you went through that, but you're not crazy. And everything you're going through, I've seen it. And I've heard other people go through it, and I'm going to help you the best that I can.
Okay.
Right? So I'd say, like, a lot of things that I see a lot of gut issues. A lot of gut issues.
And that's diet, I'm guessing.
Bloating, constipation, intermittent diarrhea, excessive weight gain, joint pain, breaking out on the skin, and people were like,
Hormones,
I don't
like
use the
you said.
restroom, I can only use the restroom and go number 2 like 3 times a week. Oh, that's a problem, right?
Okay.
Like, happiest people poop, right?
Yeah.
You got to get everything.
Happiest people poop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I always say, like, have you ever liked anyone full of shit? I say that to my patients all the time, and they're like, "No, I don't." I go, "Well, that's
It's
why
same thing for yourself.
Right now, we gotta help you. We gotta help you."
That's interesting.
So
to me, this is all leading back to diet, right?
A lot. Well, some of it could be diet, but sometimes, like I do a test called a GI map. Okay, and so when you go to a hospital or like Quest, LabCorp, they could do an H. pylori breath test, and not to get into like too much like chemistry or microbiology or immunology or anything like that. But basically, what we want to do is you want to figure out, okay, is it your diet? Are there bacterial overgrowth? Is there fungi or yeast? Are there parasites? Is there H. pylori overgrowth? There's it's like multifactorial, and sometimes it's all the above.
Is it really?
Like, oh yeah, I see cases where like people have like, I mean, for example, I had a patient one time that passed a ball of worms. Yeah. Imagine looking in a toilet and you see a ball of worms.
How does that happen?
It could be water contamination, raw, undercooked meats, dogs licking you too much.
Really?
Oh yeah, gross stuff. Yeah. But I definitely get a lot of challenging cases.
Wow.
I'd say. Like I had a patient one time. She had a fever of, I think it was like 101 or something like that for like over a year. And wow. We worked on her gut. She had like 27 negative COVID tests. Worked on her gut to start off, and her fever finally broke.
Gotcha.
Right, and then she had other underlying issues. So what I did was I ordered every blood test that she needed to get done before she went to a specialist, and then got her referred out to a specialist. So like going back to like that whole primary care issue, it's going to be a real problem, right? Because there's a lot of sick people out there, and man, like you're going to go to an office and they're going to say, "Oh, hey pal, sorry, you're really not feeling good. I'll see you in 6 weeks." What are you going to do then, right? We need more doctors that can be credentialed. First off, that has to be a thing. They have to be credentialed, because then otherwise we're just going to be harming more people.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to get people in to see specialists or get imaging that they need faster, right? So like I'll order MRIs for patients, x-rays, send them out to Simon Med or anything like that, so that they could get all their imaging done prior to them going to their practitioner while they establish care with me.
Okay.
Or blood work too. Blood, urine, stool, hair, saliva. Yeah.
So you're saying, so a lot of gut issues.
Yeah.
Well, would you say that's one of the main things that?
Oh man, I see. There's a lot of GI distress, I'd say, in like America, just in general, right? Like,
is there a reason behind that though, besides diet? Or?
And see, this is where like I'm a little bit of a scapegoat, right? Like, I'm a realist. So, do I want you to never eat fast food again? No, that's not possible. Yeah. Right. So when you see these functional medicine practitioners, they're so dogmatic. They're like, "Don't you eat sugar? It's going to come up and Will Smith slap you in the face." It's like, no, it's not. Like, what if I ate sugar before I went to the gym? I'm going to burn it off. Right. Yeah. Now, constantly eating sugar all day, every day. Yeah, that's not good for you. Yeah. Right. That's really not good for you. Then we run into a problem. Or eating fast food multiple times a day, every single day. Sometimes it's actually crazy. Next time you go out with people, just ask them within like a 4-day span, "Hey, how many times have you eaten out this week?" You'll actually be kind of shocked.
Oh, it's actually crazy.
Because some people will be like, only eat at home once a day, and then the rest of the meals are eating out. Right. So it is kind of wild, right?
Even coming from Australia to America,
oh yeah, I can.
The difference as far as like how acceptable it is to eat out at fast food is so much. It could be different now, but when like I may have fast food once a week in Australia, over here it's a daily thing,
multiple times too,
and it's normal and it's okay.
Yeah,
and nobody looks at it as abnormal.
No one would ever bat an eye.
And to me, to me that blows my mind.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah,
I can't believe you consider an In-N-Out drive-thru and just think that's a normal daily thing.
Every day.
Every
single day.
And not think about the consequences or there's no accountability.
No, exactly.
And I don't mean you need to fat shame people or anything, but there's nothing like that where it keeps anybody in check anymore. It's
too like I'd say the thing in America too, like as I'm sure you've gotten to see this, like we're very fast paced, right? When I was on the USA Stars lacrosse team, I got to go over to Japan, Barcelona, England, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Norway, and you have a group of American athletes, right? And then you put us in a European culture, and it's like, well, or even Japan was crazy.
Japan and here is completely night and day.
It was ass backwards.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was like, oh my God, this is so different, right?
So different.
Like we'd be yelling at each other right now out there, the conversation by how quiet everyone is. But it's just crazy how like we're so fast paced. So it's like American society, like work till you're dead, right? Eat if you have time, right? And sleep, you're hardly going to get any of it.
And the less sleep you get, the more you're hustling, and the cooler it is.
Exactly, right. So it's
cool to get 4 hours sleep.
Exactly. And see, that's the thing, like, I kind of love about Vegas, but I hate about it. Like, this city, you can hustle 24/7 if you want it, right? And that's a good and bad thing. So as someone that's a workaholic like me, I'm like, well...
Yeah, I'm sure
suburbs in Minnesota, Wyoming don't sound too bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I want to be in this room. I want to be having the pay, like just the people that I've met, and it's worth it. It's just it's based on that individual, like you said, accountability. Right? Like accountability is huge. And sometimes when you try to hold people accountable, I see this with patients sometimes too, like it could be offensive to hold someone accountable, right? Or it could be rude trying to hold someone accountable.
That's where you need real friends.
So exactly.
That's what real friends come into.
And that's where you need to have. I think it's like when it's a communication thing too. Like I think that we have communication issues. You know what I'm saying? In America, just everywhere, kind of too. At some point in time, everyone has a communication riff, right? And it's not like you got to be like Jordan Peterson or Gary Vee. It's not like that. It's just like oh, hey, okay. I can't just say, hey, stop eating fast food all the time, right? There's no density to that, right? Like, why are you eating fast food all the time?
Put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah, like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I always say that. Like, if you're a smoker and I tell you smoking's bad for you, that's not going to do anything.
Nope.
But can I put myself in your shoes and try to come up with a better plan or a better way of saying it? Absolutely. Yeah.
So, for example, my dad, why I really got into functional medicine. So my dad was a type 2 diabetic.
Okay. Which basically self-inflicted, right?
Self-inflicted. Yep. So he, growing up in Wyoming, okay, this man did not understand that getting biscuits and gravy from Carl's Jr. was fast food.
Oh, really?
That's not fast food, John. It's biscuits and gravy.
So that was just normal food.
I didn't eat fast food. I got a chicken sandwich at McDonald's.
Really?
I'm telling you.
Wow, that's
a lot.
It's funny you say that because I can think of people who don't think it's
breakfast.
Oh,
no,
dude.
Fast food's a cheeseburger and French fries. No,
that's
dude, I just had
man.
chicken nuggets and chicken. Those are true conversations. And then my dad.
Even my girlfriend the other day, she's like, "Oh, let's get a sandwich at I was at some sub place," and she's like, "Oh, it's just a sandwich." I'm like, "No, it's not. No, it's so far from it. It's so far from a sandwich.
Different, right?" And so it's just crazy how like the concept of what things really are sometimes. You know, like my brother Davey. So my dad, like. He stuck on that diet, didn't change anything, and then within, I think, 4 years, passed away. Oh, yeah. So he died.
And you saw it, knowing that not able to get through.
Yeah. He died in 2018, and then my brother Davey, like 6 months after him. Yeah, from alcoholism.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Like, it's crazy. Sometimes you look at things and you're like, damn, you could go buy a fifth of alcohol as many times as you want, anywhere you want, every single day if you want. There's nothing against that, right? And obviously living in Vegas, like it's Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's.
So he was out in Wyoming when that happened. So that's one thing that really dedicated me to like, and it's nothing with like a hospital system, but it's just like what I saw my dad going through there. Like, he'd go in there. I remember he got gangrene, got half of his leg amputated. Jeez. His breakfast. I have a picture of it on my old phone. His breakfast. It was a blueberry muffin, highly processed blueberry muffin, okay, a bowl of Cheerios, okay, not sugar-free Jell-O.
At the hospital?
Yeah, at the hospital.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh.
You see this stuff on...
And I'm like, what? I thought I was living in the Matrix. Like, I'm like, wait a second.
And he's a diabetic.
What? And I get it. Like, damn, this guy just got half of his leg amputated. Why did this guy get half of his leg amputated? You know what I'm saying? Lifestyle, right? You know, and obviously there's a whole bunch of physiological aspects that go into gangrene. But, you know, type 2 diabetic. Sugar, you know.
So he's literally had
change, and he never drank.
So literally being fed 20 grams of sugar for breakfast in the hospital?
A bunch of sugar. And that was just his breakfast.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that was just his breakfast.
Right.
And it could have been orange juice there. I'm guaranteeing it wasn't water.
It was apple juice.
Which has probably got another 10.
2% milk.
Which has also got sugar.
Yeah, so I was just like, what? It's just crazy kind of.
I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because people just don't get it.
Yeah, they don't get it, but I'm also like, again, like I said a couple minutes ago, like, I'm not that dogmatic practitioner that's like, that stuff's going to kill you. But
moderation,
at what
balance.
Point, at what point are we going to sit down and say, okay, we need to make a change? You know what I'm saying?
It's 22 grams of sugar per person per day now, is the average.
Oh,
added sugar.
I would put it even more.
Yeah, it could actually be more.
More, man.
And there's a stat that the average child is consuming their body weight in sugar per year.
Yeah.
My daughter is 8. She weighs 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Supposedly she's eating a 40-pound bag of sugar every year. That's so insane, right?
That's insane.
When you start to picture it in a different way, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and that's again like the numbers thing, right? Like some people need to see numbers, some people need to see drawings, some people need to hear a joke to understand something. Right? So it's just like the communication thing, right? And it's just kind of crazy too, because like the lifestyle, you just get so busy so fast, and then you're like, shit, how do I keep up with this?
But your health is everything. When do you lose your health? It's crazy, your health is your wealth, right? I always preach that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
I absolutely agree with
you. You would trade $1 billion for your health in a second.
Absolutely.
And anybody tells me different is lying.
See, and that's a really good point, man. And like when it comes to like a money factor, like we're very pro-patient at Alignology, right? Like I really value like every single dollar that a patient spends, right? So like if you're coming into me for functional medicine, I'm not going to be that practitioner that's like, you owe me $10,000 cash before I even help you. There's doctors that do that. And I'm like, that's insane. This person is nervous. They're scared. They're medically vulnerable. Like, how are you going to help this person?
Yeah.
Right. So if you come into me with underlying issues, right? Like I always draw a tree for my patients, right? I draw a tree with dead branches. Okay. And the dead branches are your symptoms. And then when you have those symptoms, I put on those branches. Oh, I went and saw a GIGU specialist. I saw primary care. I saw this. I TikToked this or whatever, right? Those are to treat those symptoms.
Yeah.
That's not figuring out why you're having this. So then I always draw these roots, and we start at the root. So I start with the one test that I know we're going to get the results with, that's going to give that patient the most amount of information.
Okay.
It's not going to break their bank, and we're going to be able to help them out.
Okay.
And they're going to alleviate a lot of those symptoms, right? With just that one test, right? And then with that one test, what you do is if you need further testing, then you look into that. But these people, they want their symptoms worked on. So what I do is I address the low-hanging fruit, right? You address the root of the tree, and then you go after those dead branches, right? And you retrim them, right? And you do a lot. I do a lot with, I don't like to give people a lot of supplements. Some people do need to take supplements though. Yeah. They do. And the supplement industry, that's a whole nother podcast. Like that's wild.
You find hospitals do the opposite. They test everything and they charge you through the teeth.
Actually, it's kind of crazy. I see patients that have had some stuff done in hospitals and I'm like, why the hell did they get this done? Because we should have
it's like the quickest possible way to get them in and out, right? For the most amount of money.
People with cardiac issues hardly look at people's testosterone. There's tons of studies that show that low testosterone can affect heart health. Why are we not testing everyone's testosterone when you look at someone's heart, right? It's just crazy. And then so I think when they charge people so much, that goes back to like the insurance companies, right? So I always try to explain this to patients. Like they get really freaked out about tests. And I get it. They should. Like when you try to use your insurance, so this is a little bit of a red pill for everybody. When you go to use your insurance, and some people have really good insurance, okay? Some people don't. On average, most people don't, right? So if you want to go get blood work done, okay? that lab company is going to charge your insurance company 4 to 5 times the amount for that test. Yep. So they'll charge that test in the thousands, $3,000 to $4,000, just so they can make their money back from the time, the staff, the person that drew your blood, and practitioner reviewing it, right? So that's why people are like, what? I got charged all this money for that? And your insurance company's like, oh yeah, you haven't met your deductible yet, sorry. You know? So then you're up shit's creek even more, right? Whereas like, you could find a provider that has a lab account and I can order cash rates for you. And we try to not charge patients more than what we get the test at. You just pay for the practitioner's time, which at the end of the day is still cheaper than what you would pay through the insurance company majority of the times.
That's crazy. So being Australian, living in America, I've been to the doctor so many times. Yeah. I've been in a hospital so many times. Yeah. Never cost me a cent. Come to America and you avoid going to the doctor, you avoid going to the hospital unless you're on your deathbed, and you actually have to. Yeah. And that boggles my mind. You get a little cough in Australia, I better go to the doctor. Here, you got COVID, you're dying, you're like, I'll be all right. I'll be okay.
We'll rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, we'll just wait it out. Yeah. And I've seen it, black and white. It's absolutely insane.
Going off what you just said, here's kind of a funnier story now, but so when Ricky and I first started dating, right, she got really sick, right? She just wasn't feeling well, and my mom's an old school nurse, old school RN. God, she would debate on even taking you in if you probably lost half your arm, really? Okay, we'll just turn a kid, just kidding, but Ricky got so sick one time. And she goes, babe, I need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you positive? Because hospitals are for really, really sick people. And yeah, you're sick, but are you sure you're not too sick? And that's just crazy because I've been conditioned. It really hit me whoa. I've been conditioned in a way where it's no, you don't go to the hospital.
It's a money thing, right? It's not a health thing. It's a money thing first.
It's crazy.
Which is awful in a first world country.
First world country.
It's a money thing. It's not a health thing.
Yeah. I always say sometimes we're like a polished turd,
It's insane, right?
Yeah. So then we get Ricky to the hospital and they're like, oh yeah, she's got to take this, this, and this. And we're about to go to Mexico. And then I'm just sitting there in my head damn. Yeah, I got to change the way I look at medicine, kind of, you know what I'm saying?
I got a touchy type of subject I want to touch on. So you obviously healthy, you live and breathe it. You exercise, you eat well. But when you look around, a lot of doctors, a lot of nurses aren't really advocates of health. They're not living and breathing themselves, putting a Band-Aid on. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that kind of goes back to, me not being dogmatic about my approach on medicine, right? I'm a realist, people have wants and needs and there's things that they want to do. That's where when I get into things like functional medicine or even how, you have personal trainers or strength coaches or chiropractors, physical therapists, grill people on certain exercises, right? And it's well, wait a second, what are you like behind closed doors or when you're not on camera, right? That's why I just try to be as organic as possible. So when you are talking about what you want to do and how you want to practice, that's a really big deal, right? That's why I try to just be me all the time, because then I don't have to sugarcoat anything. Yeah. Do I go out and party? Yes. I even put it on my social media, right? That I'm a human too.
Yeah, you're a human
I'll
being.
go to a concert. I'll go to the strip. I'll drink. I'll go to a pool party, right? Do I do the follow-up game to take care of myself? Absolutely. That's the stuff I actually don't post as much, right? I go to work. I wake up in the morning, take my dog for a walk. After I take my dog for a walk, go to work. I work a physical job. I'm on my feet all day, work all day. I go straight to the gym, and then I work out for 45 minutes. And then right after, in 45 minutes of I don't stop moving, right? I get there, I sprint half a mile, do my workout, sprint the other half mile. And then I go to lacrosse practice. And then I'm on my feet moving around all the time, right? Playing with the kids and everything like that. So in the physical aspect, yes. When it comes down to supplements and things like that, and this is just how I am, I'm a stickler with stuff. I'm not a doctor that's just going to sell you something, right? if I give you a supplement, it's backed by your blood work.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, eat this sea moss from TikTok because it's going to make you shit your pants. I have no idea, right? But like, you see it all over the internet. Like, I saw this video talking about how eggs are bad for you. And I'm like, it's one of the oldest meals in human history.
Literally one of the best.
What are you talking about?
That's
the oldest meal in human history. Yeah. And there's people that believe it. I'm like, whatever. But I think when it comes down as the practitioner, right? Some doctors, they're just like, I mean, man, you know, I got to give it to like the nurses, you know, the ICU nurses, like ER nurses. Those poor people, they see some serious shit, right? So like, when you get done with work, do you want to go eat? A lot of them, honestly, like when my mom did that, when she was ICU, she just wanted to go home and just sleep and rest, because you just see the craziest stuff.
Yeah.
So like, when it comes to that, like those doctors, I kind of get why.
I get it.
I get it.
Or smoking, right? My dad worked at the hospital for 20 years.
Yeah.
Most nurses smoke.
Yeah, see.
But they're also got one of the most stressful jobs in the world.
100%. And I think that's why they do it. It's the stress. So that's where it comes down to like work-life management, right? I actually ran into one of my colleagues at the Minneapolis airport. And it was just so funny because he called me out on it. I haven't seen this guy in 3 years, right? And he goes, first thing he asked me, he said, so John, how's your work-life balance? First thing he ever said to me.
Was it really?
And I said, shit. Because he knows me. Like when I was in chiro school, I worked myself to the bone, right? Like I would wake up, I'd go to the library for an hour before school. I'd go to all my classes. And then I'd go to the gym for a half hour, and then I'd stay in the library every single night until 11 o'clock till they kicked me out. I'd be the last person in the library. So I put a lot of time and effort into my schooling, right? So then I sacrificed sleep, and then there are days where I did eat bad, you know, and I still have days where I still eat bad. It's just a consistency of how bad do you want to be healthy, like you said, right? Like your health is your wealth.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to, with the practitioners, what's your lifestyle like? And once you can figure out what your lifestyle is like, I think your health will change, either for the good or the bad. So I know that's a very broad answer, but
I get it. I totally get it. It's just, I always say it's very hard to go to a broke financial planner or a fat personal trainer. And now, like, I mean, there's McDonald's inside hospitals where doctors are eating McDonald's because it's the most convenient thing.
There's a Subway at Mountain View.
Yeah, I mean, Subway probably even worse than McDonald's.
You know, I mean, some of their meats are, it's just, my patients will tell you this. I'm a minimalist. So if we do something, we are doing it with the least amount of financial burden, the least amount of extra stress, and to be able to manage sustainability, right? And the people that go for I'm only shopping at Whole Foods. What if you have a bad month at work, or what if you can't work? Can you still afford Whole Foods?
Yeah.
What if you want to do supplements 100% of the time? That gets really expensive, right? Let's just say a B vitamin supplement, just for math reasons, it's $100, and you never got any blood work done, and you're taking it because you think it makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
Do it every year. That's $1,200, and then something happens to you financially, God forbid. That's $1,200 you could have used towards that, right? You see what I'm saying? So it just comes down to, what do you actually need compared to what do you want? You know what I'm saying? And then that's where you have to have that real conversation with yourself. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
That's kind of how I look at things when it comes to medicine. So like you said, those practitioners that don't live by their code, right? There will come a point where they meet a threshold. And then when they meet that threshold, they will have a reaction to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, I either got to change this, or it's like, I see people that go through this all the time and they're all right, I'll be all right.
How much are people learning about prevention, and how much did you learn about prevention while studying, opposed to what you went out and researched yourself?
That's a really good question. So functional medicine school was a lot about preventative medicine.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Now there's certain functional medicine programs where it's like I said, too dogmatic, just like chiro or any other profession, right? There's people that are like, live by the code, die by the code. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm not a tribalist though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I'm someone where I'm like, okay, how can I make this sustainable for that person? And how can I teach them to stay preventable? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes there's things that are inevitable too, though.
Yeah.
Right? Where we just have to like adapt and overcome, and then we just have to become comfortable, right? Like I tell my patients all the time, it would be nice to get us to a 0 out of 10 on a pain scale, but sometimes that's not attainable.
Yeah.
But what if I can show you how to go from a 6 out of 10 on the pain scale, and I teach you how to manage your pain or your symptoms to get down to a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
That's sustainable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like teach a man to fish, feed him for life.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Same thing when it comes to physiology, right? My patients with functional medicine, my goal is not to have them in my office for the rest of their lives. That'd be awesome because I love my patients.
My follow-up question touches on that.
So my goal is to teach my patients. I want to empower my patients on how to manage their pain and their symptoms so that they don't have to rely on me. So that when they know they have to go in to a doctor, they know, right? It's patient education, man.
When I go to a doctor, I know
teachers.
I'm sick because I know how I feel. Yes. I'm very aware of all aspects all the time.
And that goes back to that one patient where that one GIG doctor was like, you're fine, you're going to live, right? But you knew, that patient knew, no, something's not right. They're just not in a shape bad enough to see that person, right? So then I have to teach that person, you know, you got to work on the emotional aspect of it first. Once you address the emotional aspect, then you address the physiological aspect, and then everything else will follow. Right? So
does America want people healthy?
I don't know. I'd say.
Can you answer that honestly?
You know, I'd say statistically, if you look at things, I get asked that question a lot.
Oh, you do?
I actually get asked that question a lot. How do insurance companies make money?
Yeah, people being sick, right?
Car accidents, right? People being sick, death and destruction, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Like, I used to work insurance. Like I used to work for State. I think State Farm's an awesome company, but I sat there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm asking these people for money for things that could possibly go horribly, horribly wrong in their lives. Right? And then I'm like, whoa, it's kind of insurance.
Yeah,
You know?
okay.
So that's where that's where I think I tell patients this all the time, cash is king, right? Like, for example, I had my heart looked at. Over a year ago, I thought I had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
But my pulse was actually super, super low, and my heart rate was normal. So something was really wrong. Like my pulse was like, I think it was like 42, 44, 46.
It's like Olympic level, right?
Low. It was super low, but I wasn't even working out. Like my pulse is still super low because I stay in really good shape, but it was like abnormally low and I had pain. I went to an urgent care. Got an EKG. I got a really bad blood test. And then I went and got an echocardiogram. I saw one cardiologist, then I left that cardiologist, saw another cardiologist, and got another echocardiogram. I got 6 things, and it was under $2,000. Now, when you tell people EKG, echocardiogram, blood work, even when you mention urgent care, people are like, oh, in the thousands, right? But when you go in and say, I'm a cash paying patient, that's interesting. That's what I paid for all that, for just to get my heart looked at.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. So, yeah, just to kind of touch on that, like, there's more money in people being sick, right?
Yeah.
And if everybody was like you and I, and only other doctor when we're literally on our deathbed, the world would be a different place.
It's completely different. I agree with that. Like, I always tell my patients, like, when we're in a linology or a Dragon's Lair, you know, I'll be on the table with them or like sitting with them in one of my offices, and I'm like, you see that out there? That's the jungle. I want to fix you so you could go out to the jungle and tell all your friends, right? I don't want you in here. As cool as you are, I love you so much. I want to get you better, get you the hell out of here so you could go tell everyone else. Because that's the best form of marketing.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Happy, healthy people are the best form of marketing.
Right? Because they can tell everybody.
Going back to the CMOS thing on TikTok. Why is that so popular? Because someone saw it and they felt better on it, and then they went out and told the world about it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can do that with anything, right? It's wild.
Yeah. I'm just a big believer, like, pill a day for the rest of your life, keep people sick.
Yeah.
The more people sick, the more pills you take, the more money.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, yeah, my dad. So this is another thing about the hospital system that kind of drove me nuts. I want to say the hospital system, just like the system that he was in Wyoming, So my dad was dyslexic. He was on 25 medications. A dyslexic man trying to read pharmacology every single day. How do you think that went? Terrible. He was taking the wrong pills at the wrong times.
Oh.
There was no I color-coded things for him towards the end when I moved back in with him to help take care of him.
Yep.
That's the healthiest he was. But those 2 years before, he didn't know what the hell he was taking.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You take a dyslexic man, can't read any of these medications that he's on. There's no caretaker or anything like that. There was no home health system that he had because, again, he was on like a very, very bad insurance program, right? Very, very poor, very, very bad insurance program. So he hardly got any help.
Gotcha.
Right? I remember he would go to dialysis and I don't know, see, and I don't work in a dialysis center, but they would let him drive home after dialysis. And I don't know if you've ever seen someone get dialysis. They're like a drunk person. They're like intoxicated. They take all the blood out of your body, spin it, put it back in.
Yeah, that's got to have effect.
Yeah, it was sad. Like he hit a motorcyclist. He hit a light pole. There's a whole bunch of crazy shit that happened, right?
That's
it's
this whole
see you, Dave.
Are
you good, Dave? You good to leave?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Jeez.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's really
it's nothing
crazy.
on those people. It's just like, how are we helping? Are we really helping these people? Or are we just kind of watching the process, getting paid to spectate, you know?
Yeah, okay. As far as you work on the Olympians, like the big bodybuilders, big Olympians, what type of stuff are you doing with those guys?
So I do a lot of corrective exercise.
What are those guys struggling with? I mean, you got these like 250 muscle pound freaks. Like,
I love those guys. They're all beauties, but they're different in their own ways for sure.
Yeah.
I'd say with my bodybuilders, my number one thing that I do with them, no matter what, and the thing where the people that really want to excel and when they become great is when they do the small stuff, right? Like, a lot of my bodybuilders, especially like my top Olympians, you got to do the minor things, right? And you got to work on the small muscles, right?
Gotcha.
They're so hyper focused on the big picture. I want to be an Olympian. That's awesome. You're going to do that. Whether it's this year or next, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You have the mindset of it. That's not the problem. It's doing the small things that are going to get you there.
What's
right?
the small things?
That's going to be like mobility, right? Oh my God, mobility is a huge one. I can tell you every single bodybuilder I've ever treated on, Dr. B's small exercises are so goddamn hard.
Really?
Oh yeah, just the small motions.
What type of stuff are you talking about?
Working on like their teres minor, major, like internal, external rotation, helping them lat spread, helping them get into poses easier, and just doing really small things.
Really?
Like isometric contractions, certain things like that. There's a certain sequence that I have for certain athletes, whether it's, or like even like, doing a side pose. And then I don't even touch their back and I just do their glutes and they're like, whoa.
Gotcha.
They have way more mobility, right? So it's like a multifactorial thing. Every athlete's so different. I'm definitely super fortunate for being there. Thankful for Craig Golias. Craig was a huge help. I remember he was my first ever athlete here in the city. And I told my chiropractic school, like before I moved out here, I said, I'm going to go to Las Vegas. I'm going to treat tons of professional bodybuilders. And then I'm going to get into professional sports. And then I just want to keep growing. I have my own business and I want to work with everybody. And Craig on Instagram one day was like, I'm in need for a chiropractor in Las Vegas. I was driving on Summerlin Parkway. I pulled over and I had 75 of my friends DM him and tell him to come see me.
Wow.
Brand new doc.
Wow.
Brand new. I had been out of school for 3-4 months.
How cool is that?
It's great. And then he goes, okay, so I guess I'm going to come see you. So he came and saw me. And then he got me.
He's a goofball, right?
I love Craig. He's such a beauty. He's hilarious.
I've only met him once.
Big teddy bear. Big teddy bear. I love that guy. So then I got connected with Craig, and then I was training at LVAC, and then I saw my buddy Kenny, and at that point I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna go keep talking to these guys. So I went up to Kenny. I said, hey Kenny, I know you probably don't know me. I'm Dr. Beedle. I'm treating Craig. I'm over at Alinology. I'd love to get you in the office someday. And then he was like, oh no, I saw you on Craig's story the other day.
Oh, nice.
And so then he came in, and then after he came in, Craig got me connected with Flex Lewis. And then I started working with Flex Lewis, and then Flex was like, hey, I'd love to have you at the Dragon's Lair. So I started working with Flex and Allie. I'm super thankful for them too, and Justin Dees. And then after that, it was just kind of like crazy. Like I had Greg Jennings, a 2-time Super Bowl champion from the Green Bay Packers, hit me up. I've worked on a lot of athletes. I don't post a lot of them. But some of them, I just have them repost. That was another thing too. Like my Instagram account at first, like I remember one of my patients, he roasted me about it. He said, you look like you have a catfish account, but you have the most famous people in the sporting industries on your page. You know, like I had one Instagram post and it was a picture of like me, like a nice headshot, and then the guy with glasses from Scary Movie 2. And I said what it looks like running, what you feel like running a professional account versus what you actually look like.
Yeah.
You know, and then from there it was just like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I need to change like kind of my model, because like I was just story based, right? Like I just had people looking at my stories. It took less time for me to write these huge posts, because I think sometimes too on social media, you know, you have, especially practitioners, they have these like egos that they need to write all this literature down. They need to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you get someone's attention span for 5 seconds.
Nobody cares.
No one
The description
cares.
is the most
Only the doctor
insignificant.
cares. It's like, you have a typo in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude.
Whatever. You know, so that's...
I'll do something. I'll do some educational video and someone's like, and be commenting on someone in the background, or I was like, people are just going to see it the way they want to see it.
You know, good janitors and bad janitors, right?
It's,
you know, so it's just so funny how people are sometimes.
This podcast is nothing but value,
Yeah.
but most of it's negative, the comments. It's always picking on some random thing, or this spelling mistake, or this, that. I'm like, really? Like,
yeah, but you know what? Like, there's always, someone's always got something to say.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like I tell the kids that I coach, our saying is, we don't talk shit, we score goals, we win games. Right? So
yeah, like,
so
that walk
people
the
gotta
walk,
say
don't
it.
talk. That's
Awesome. Good for
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's just how people are sometimes, right?
Being around high level people, athletes, the mindset. What have you got? What growth have you got from being around those people?
You know, I love being around that. I've always competed at like a really high level at no matter what I do in life, right? Like whether it was like college lacrosse, being on the USA Stars team, coaching my kids, right? Like I tell people that I coach and my patients, like, you're not coming here to be average. You know, you want to be great at what you do, right? And so we're going to do it together, right? So being around people that are in that environment, it's nice. It's humbling. It's very good. Sometimes it's not what people think it is too, I'd say. But I think for me, it's a really good factor of, you know, solidifying what I'm doing is good not only for like the general population, but for, I guess, the higher level population too.
Yeah,
that's one thing that I'm
interesting.
super thankful for too, is that you can mesh both worlds, right?
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Is anybody like any type of anything that anyone's ever said or something that's really like just helped you go to the next level mentally or with your business, or just someone?
Yeah, like someone that's really been motivating to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this podcast. I get to talk to high level people, and it's done wonders for me on so many different levels. But you're getting that same thing. So has it been something that's just resonated with you, like?
Man,
like some type of routine or habit they've had, or mindset, honestly, or book, or
I've always just been raised off of like survival mode. So I think that's honestly kind of it for me. Like just kind of like how I was raised a little bit, and my upbringing really has motivated me to never want to be able to have a situation like that ever again. So like when I go out in public, whether it's seeing, going to like a party and seeing like UFC bantamweight champion of the world, or like at the professional lacrosse game and having Wayne Gretzky right in front of me, or, even just in my clinic and just having, my Summerlin moms and, my lacrosse kids at Dragons there. I just think of like what I want to do and what I want to do for them, for everyone else first. I definitely put other people before myself at times. And that could be a good and bad thing. But I think the thing that's motivated me is like, I love my ma. I don't ever want my ma to have to, live the life that she's lived before. My guardianship mom, she's highly motivating to me. She's very, very motivating.
Yeah.
And like, I've always wanted to be like a father and a husband and have kids. And I think that that's one thing that motivates me too, is just, you know, continuing to work hard, be a good role model, and just be a good person. So I think that's the thing that really sticks with me. My lacrosse coach, he's always been a really good mentor to me and my teammates. I'd say like everyone in my life is what motivates me. Every single person, even if I've hardly met them, like it's still like, I value everyone.
You can take value from everybody, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I value this. Like this is awesome. You know, like it's very humbling and it's an incredible experience. You know,
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of to finish up with, like, you're seeing people suffering from pain, they're unhealthy, you've got so much talent, you've got so much value, you can help others.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where do people, what do you suggest people need to do to feel better, function better, less likely to come in and see you? How do they avoid seeing you?
That would be ideal. I
know that's what you want.
I would gladly see anyone. But you know, at the end of the day, like I might not be for everyone. And so the thing that I tell my patients, kind of like what I was saying earlier, it's about the system you're getting into, right? Like some people want a system like the joint. You know, some people want to just go in and get lit up like a glow stick and get adjusted in 2 minutes. Some people need more time. So I'd say what I'd recommend to anyone that's going through or having any pain or going through anything right now, find someone that can really listen to you and figure out what you need and where you're at, and then where they can meet you. I think that's like my golden apple for that, for sure.
I like that. Gotcha. Yeah. And then just to avoid you in general. So like where do people
that would be ideal.
Do they need to start moving more? They need to start stretching more? Do they need to
so like that's a thing.
Cut out sugar. Like, what are these main factors that people doing wrong?
Yeah, see, it's like a multifactorial thing, right? And that's where like I tell my patients all the time, I'm a minimalist. Like I'm not gonna give you crazy homework unless I have to, right? I'd say like some people, the thing that I love about the New Year's, but I also hate it, is like everyone thinks they have to go to the gym every single day. You don't have to do that.
No.
Everyone thinks they have to go to the gym for an hour or two. You don't have to do that. There's literally studies that show you could go on a 15 to 30 minute walk and that's beneficial
to improve
cardiovascular health.
Do what you enjoy, first of all.
Exactly, right? So like it's the expectations and the reality, right? And so that's where I tell my patients all the time, what's your goal that's attainable? Don't tell me.
Do you think that's one of the first things to think
You
about?
have to have an attainable goal. You have to be
what is your attainable goal? I like that.
Yeah, you have to have an attainable goal.
How do you measure what's attainable for you?
So, for example, if I'm coming in with GI issues, obviously people want to have 0 GI symptoms. That's not going to be attainable right away.
Gotcha.
So if you're having issues 7 days a week, let's go in 1 month to get you down to, instead of having issues 7 days a week, to 4 days a week.
Gotcha.
That's a huge improvement.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then the next month, let's chop that 4 down to 2, you know? And then let's try getting you to where it's just like kind of once a week. You see what I'm saying? But by that time, month 3, I tell my patients all the time, like I had a patient the other day, she is kicking ass. And I'm like, see, I told you, you're hardly going to need me anymore, right? And then you empowered that person, right? And then it's like, now they know I'm going to be okay. Right. And now I know when I'm not okay. And now I know when I need to get out and go see either Dr. Beedle or have Dr. Beedle refer me to go see someone else.
Okay. I like that.
So obtainable goals, that would be number 1.
Yep.
Being real with yourself, right? Where are you at? Where are you at? And where are you willing to go? Right? Are you willing to do the work that you need to do to get better? Or are you willing to do the work to stay better? Right? Because sometimes people will get better, relapse, right?
100%.
Then they just fall right back off the wagon, right? Or people are like, okay, we'll use like fast food. Okay, so I go out to eat 5 days a week, let's just say this patient. And now we got them down to where they just go out 3 days a week and 2 of them are on the weekends. That's pretty good, right? Okay. That's a little more sustainable, right? Whereas you could take that patient and say, you're done going out to eat. And then they do that for 3 months, and then
or a week, and
then they go out, and then they're like, "I'm done with that. That was cool while it lasted, felt good. Now I know I can do it again." And it's like, no, because
it's so simple, but it's so powerful.
Yeah,
really I always preach this stuff. Increments, little baby steps.
Right. Yeah, baby steps.
Cordell always talks about one variable.
Yep. You can only do one thing at a time. And that's what I tell my patients too. I tell my patients that. I tell my lacrosse kids that. I tell everybody that. You're only going to chip away at one thing at a time. Right? You can accomplish minor tasks in a day, but that's not going to achieve a big goal, right? That's just getting you closer to that goal. Right? And then when you get that goal, what do you do after? Do you stop? No, right? Like I had someone come in the other day and they want to get their kid to go play professional sports or Division I sports. And that's an awesome goal. And I think it's realistic for that kid. But once that person were to get, their idea was after they get to that combine and their kid does good and then they get the letters that they could tone back, and I go, no, now you have to turn things up even more.
Yeah, need to
because
double
now
down.
you just achieved that goal, and those programs don't want you to be like, oh, cool, yeah, here you go. Welcome to the team. Like you didn't go try to be a Division I athlete to go sit on the bench. You go to be a Division I athlete and just prove what you can do for a program.
Yeah,
right?
and that applies to everything in life.
Everything, right?
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, we talked about it. Like once you get somewhere, like what's next? There's always that next step. Like,
one of my buddies, he taught me this. And actually, this is probably one phrase that I've stuck with forever, and it's losers party, winners celebrate. You know,
losers party. Yeah,
celebrate.
I think it was as a boxer, I heard say something similar to that.
Yeah. One of my Canadians.
He's like, when people are out celebrating, I'm training because I want to be the best of the best.
Yeah, one of my teammates from Canada, he told me that one time, and we had just lost, and I was like, damn. We are just we're complaining over here, like, oh, we could have done this better, we should have done this. But then when you win, it's like, okay, cool, awesome. Party, and then we're going to regroup and we're going to be ready to tear your head off in the next game. You know what I'm saying? So there is a difference, and that has kind of stuck with me. Right?
Yeah, no, I like that because I heard something similar and it stuck with me too.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, you like with your dad, and he was like, he knew what was going on, but he was unable to break away from it. How does someone maybe going through something similar? How do they make it important enough to make change before it's too late? Because this is one of my biggest worries on a lot of people.
Of the like, oh shit, now I'm really sick type thing, right?
Yeah, or hey, I just had a mild heart attack. That mild heart attack could have actually been a heart attack and killed you.
Yeah.
How do you make change before you have to make change? Or how do you get out of your own way, I guess?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, man.
I know it's a really hard one. It's very powerful, but I feel like everybody needs that.
But let's reverse engineer that. You know what I'm saying? So what we can do is, how do we avoid the worst thing happening, right? You do the small things before that, right? So the things that would make a big impact to avoid certain things like that, getting blood work done once or twice a year, right?
Some type of accountability.
I get blood work done twice a year.
Because most people probably sticking their head in the sand, right?
Until I get the markers where I know that's where I think I have an issue.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I don't get the stuff out of sight, out of mind, right? I'm not going to do that.
That's what most people are doing, aren't they?
And I don't do that with my patients. I go, this is it. Right here. You tell me this is what you have, so I order these markers, and this is positive.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That way it's like, whoa.
Realization, accountability.
You see it, right? So I'm a huge Ohio State fan. Obnoxious Ohio State fan. They have in their locker room how many days it's been since they've beat Michigan. They see that every day, right? That's the positive. That's the positive on the test. We have to do that because now we've lost twice, right? That's what I show my patients. This is what we're going to work on. You see what I'm saying? And once we know that what we need to work on, that's how we avoid things from getting worse.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's hard. Yeah. That's hard for anybody.
Yeah, it is hard. But man, like you go to another doctor and then they're like, oh shit, that happened to you. Sometimes things like that do happen, but it's like, man, I see someone coming in overweight, I'm automatically going to look at their insulin, their testosterone, their blood sugar, hemoglobin A1C. There's a couple other factors I want to look at too, hormones. Why not? I know that those are going to be wrong with them. They have to see that, right?
I like that.
So then those are things that we got to work on, right?
So I just got myself a business coach, and
that's awesome.
That's got to be like, in your face. This is what you're not doing.
Exactly.
It's not going to be any fluff. It's going to be like, this is where your focus needs to go.
You can ask.
The accountability, right?
You can ask probably anyone in all aspects of my life. I definitely hold people accountable, right? Because like everyone at the end of the day, like we're all under pressure, but we all want to be the best version of ourselves. And I'm not saying accountable, like, this is what you're doing wrong. It's just like, sometimes depending on the situation, right? But you got to be real with people too, right? Because if you sugarcoat things, then you can lose track of what
society sugarcoats everything. Nobody wants to hurt each other's feelings. Everybody's butthurt about everything. Everyone's so damn sensitive.
I think one of the coolest moments that I've had as a coach ever in my entire life was 2 years ago. We lost in the city championship in Lacrosse, and we lost, and they had a second place trophy. And our kids, we went undefeated all season, and we lost in the championship game. And the guy goes, "Do you guys want this second place trophy?" And I looked at my kids and I said, "Do you guys want this?" And they said, "Hell no. We want first next year." That was cool. Nice. That was like one of the best moments I've ever had in my entire life, because I was like, damn, like we're all on the same page. And then we went on a 32-2 streak. It was great.
I like that.
You know, so that to me, it's like I got a bunch of dogs now.
I like that.
So it was good.
What's your favorite quote?
Oh man,
I feel like you got a good one for me.
Good quote. I think the losers party winners celebrate.
Yeah.
I think that's my best one. You know, my grandfather, I think the one thing that he told me too, my grandfather, I was really close with him on my dad's side. He was a prisoner of war in World War II, and he survived the Bataan Death March.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, crazy. If people don't know what that is, they got to look that up. Like, history's so scary, right? Because
history's the worst.
I love history. I love history, but it's scary as hell, right?
Dude, I'm like falling down this rabbit hole lately, like history. But the more I learn, the more like history sucks.
It's crazy.
It's so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Every country, everyone's as bad as each other.
Right? Yeah. And you know, the thing he taught me, like when I was little, he just said patience is power all the time. So, you know, the more patient you are, the more power you're going to achieve in life. So I think that's one thing that really
I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah. That really resonated with me. I was really close with them. They're very big inspiration.
I like that a lot. Patience is power. Because nobody's patient. Instant gratification. Social media makes it so much worse. You do?
That's why I got it tattooed on me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like that.
Yeah.
I really like that, dude. All right. Thank you, man. That was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of value there.
Blast. Yeah, if there's ever anything you need from me again, dude, let me know. I'm absolutely blast. I think that you have a really good vision. I think that this is awesome, man, and you're just getting going with it. Everything, you've had a lot of episodes, but everything that's going to happen for you is going to work out the right way.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I believe in that. So,
I totally agree.